Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another thing where I talk about things. Today I would like to talk about love, dating, romance, stuff like that. I was thinking about it this morning and thought to myself that might make an interesting video. I know I've had some anecdotes in the past about this sort of thing, but romance always kind of, it amuses me. I think it's an interesting subject. I like to joke about dating, romance, misunderstandings in the process of romance and so on and so forth. Because I find it's a very, very individual thing, but a lot of people take it very seriously, and they always want to know, like, well, how can I be better at romance? How do I meet women better? How do I become more appealing? There's whole industries dedicated to this. I mean, if you think about, like, makeup. Like, the idea behind makeup in a lot of cases is to make women more attractive, and so they've got all these magazines, that tell you, like, how to apply your makeup best. And, I don't know how big of an impact makeup really makes for a lot of people. Like, a lot of women, I find that if they just don't wear makeup, they look a little bit different, but, they still, look like themselves fundamentally. It doesn't make that big of a deal. But makeup is still very, very expensive, and lots of women still wear makeup. Or you've got guys, you get your slick back hair, or you've got your Axe body spray, wear this Axe body spray, and women will just tackle you. They'll bodily injure you. You'll have to go to the hospital. It's gonna be terrible. Man. Stuff like that. They try to get you to buy their Axe body spray with a threat of bodily harm. But from women, though, it's because the women wanted you, and they lost control. They weren't thinking, like a grizzly bear that plays a little too rough. Yeah. So, what I think is funny though is like every bit of advice that you can give is somewhat individual, and so you find things like you get these pickup artists. And some of the stuff that they recommend, those are the ones that crack me up the absolute most out of anything. Like, for example, I don't recall if I've told this story in a personal time before, but way back when I was a teenager, I remember playing a Flash game that was trying to promote some guy's book. And whenever somebody is trying to sell you pickup artist stuff, they're trying to sell you a bridge. They're trying to tell you, like, here's this easy trick to trick women into dating you. And so this particular guy had all these things that he did that worked for him when he went to the bar. And, like, one of them was, like, find girls that are, like, in a group. Like, it'll be, like, two girls. Like, one girl's pretty and one girl's not as pretty. And so what you do is you approach the not as pretty girl and then use her to talk to the other girl at the bar. And it was just going through on all these kind of, like, sleazy tactics that assume that, like, women are never going to be wise to the crap that you're doing. When I've actually got a book it's much better. It's called The Art of Seduction. And what this is, it's in the same series as the Laws of Power and the Strategies of War, written by Robert Greene. It's actually not really a book about seduction. It's a historical book. It goes through all these, like, interesting historical anecdotes about how people kind of met one another, how they fell in love, how they enticed each other. And it's pretty fascinating, but one of the things that the book tells you at the very outset, it says, you really shouldn't use these anecdotes to try to pick up women. I think that, like, the foreword of the book is basically like pretty much every form of seduction. Like, your partner has to be willing to be seduced in the first place. Like, you don't really trick people into falling in love. You just sort of do the things that you do, and if they want to go for it, then they do. If you try to lie to someone, then, that's how it goes. So this pickup artist game, though, had all these ideas on how to trick women into sort of falling for you. And it was kind of, it's stuff like, a lot of women would be smart enough to see right through it. So the only way you'd get away with it is if you were, like, charming and handsome enough to get away with it, and they wanted to let you get away with it. They'd be like, okay, I see where he's going with this, but whatever, I'll let him have it. That sort of thing. But what really made me laugh about the game was that they were trying to make it into a game. So you had to, like, navigate around the bar and stuff like that. And if you did something wrong, then the game would, like, stop you and make you go back and be like, oh, don't do this. And it would explain why you shouldn't do that. Like, it was like, go find a girl. And I was like, okay. And I just walked up to a girl. And the game was like, don't do that. Then she'll think you want to talk to her. And I'm like, oh, well, I wanted to go talk to the girl. Okay. So the game was like, talk to her friend. And I was like, how does that make things any less awkward? But I think what happens when you get pickup artists like that do that sort of thing is they have these rituals and they convince themselves that they've figured women out and that they've got a strategy. And what this allows them to do is it's kind of like a placebo. Like, it allows them to approach attractive women and they don't trip all over themselves. Like, like normally, like if you just walk up to women in a bar and you just kind of like strike up a conversation, just like, hello, how's it going? I mean, like, I've done this before. Like, I'll actually, when I used to go out drinking all the time, like, you know, you go outside for a little while to get some air, and, like, there'd just be people out there. You just be like, hey, how's it going? I mean, like, I've talked to women of all ages that way. You know, you just go out on the balcony or out in the front, you know, and you just chat. And that's totally natural. Like, nobody has any problem with that. So what I think these guys do, though, is they, you know, like, they get the confidence, and then they approach this girl that they don't really want, and they say, you know, like, oh, hello, how are you? And then once they start talking, like, that's how they get over all their anxiety, and they do all this stuff. And it's really not that they're tricking the girls, it's kind of almost more like they're tricking themselves, if you look at them in a good-natured standpoint. At the end of the game, though, like, my favorite part about the game was that you're supposed to hold a conversation, and, like, there's this little airplane, and it was like you had to fly through conversation topics that were, like, appropriate. And my favorite part was that, like, the second conversation where you're talking to the girl alone, like, if you fly through the wrong things, then, like, you stare at her chest, and then, or, like, you sit there and you just, like, stare blankly because you get nervous. And so it was really funny because, like, I played the first minigame really well, and then the second minigame, I wasn't prepared for how much faster the plane was gonna fly. So you just go over and you sit down with the girl, and and the thing pops up, and I was just like, chest, blank stare, chest, blank. So my character, I imagined him alternating back and forth between staring at this woman's boobs and then staring at her blankly like a deer in the headlights, and then staring at her. You had to think, like, this was after I'd just been talking to her for who knows how long enough for her to get comfortable that she would willingly go sit, like, by herself with me. And then just like, oh shit, boobs, like, how does that happen? Pickup artist game, very silly, very, very funny. That's why it stuck with me, though, just because it was so hilarious. It was just, like, all these stupid rules that this guy thought you should follow, and then he created the game so that you could screw it up in the most hilarious way. Yeah, but kind of useless, though. I mean, like, you hear people complain about pickup artists because what they do, I mean, like, they go from girl to girl and they chat up girl to girl. And a lot of times, like I say, people can sort of see through that thing. It's really obvious when you're trying to chat someone up and take them home. But different strategies work for different people. And you find that, like, those guys who hit on just about every woman they run into, although it offends most people, they keep doing it because it works. They get a reward for it eventually. You know, like, they hit on 100 women, and sooner or later, one of those women goes, yeah, you know what, I'll go with it. I don't care. I'll go home. I'm lonely. You know, it works. They stumble across somebody, so they may get slapped in the face numerous times, but they find that one woman who will go with it. They get their reward. It may not be a very deep or fulfilling relationship, but they got what they were after, and you know, that's why they keep doing it. I mean, I remember that King of the Hill actually did a joke about this, where Boomhauer. It turns out that's how Boomhauer gets women. There was an episode where Hank had Bobby hang out with Boomhauer for a while, because he's like, yeah, I noticed Boomhauer goes home with a lot of women, so he must be charming, he must be doing something. Just watch what Boomhauer does. And so Boomhauer went to, like, the shoe store, because there was a lot of women at the shoe store, and so, like, Bobby was like, I don't understand, why are we at the shoe store? And, like, Boomhauer is just going around from woman to woman. He's just like, hey, baby, is there just something. And he would just, like, chat him up, and then they'd slap him. And he just kept doing that till he got a girl's number. And then he turns to Bobby, and he just gives him this thumbs up, like, got it! You know? And so Bobby was like, I don't really think that's gonna work for me. Yeah. For me, that sort of thing has never really worked. Although I can talk to people outside of bars, I've never really, ever picked up a woman. I mean, like, the closest I ever came to any success with that was when I went to a bar with a friend. And this was kind of funny. Actually, this was with DeMarcus. And DeMarcus was like, hey, I'm going out to the bar with some lady friends. And I was single at the time. He was like, I'm going out to the bar with some lady friends. Do you want to come with me? And I was like, yeah, sure. I could meet some lady friends. Because I'll get to this. This is actually a good idea. Meeting women through friends or making friends with women is, in my opinion, the best way to date. But anyway, I didn't know these lady friends that DeMarcus had. He just goes, yeah, lady friends. And so I get there, and they're all like, mid-30s, like, to 40s, something like that. I think like there was someone in their, like, mid-40s, and she'd had a kid, and the kid, I think, was this one particular woman. I think she had a kid, and her kid was, like, out of the house now. He's old enough to be out of the house, and so she was kind of lonely. Like, she was divorced. She was, just, like, working for a living, alone. And I remember, like, after a few drinks, like, she got a little bit flirty with me. And you know, like, I'm a nice guy. You know, everybody needs a little bit of love. So she was like, you know, she was being flirty, and I was replying kindly, and not like putting her down or anything like that. Just like, everybody needs love. Everybody gets a little bit lonely. So she was making jokes, and I was joking back with her, and then she sat in my lap, and I was like, oh my, this escalated. And her friend grabbed her and then like took her outside and was like, I could just imagine he is like 20 something, he is half your age. You know, I don't know. She got in trouble. Her other friend pulled her and said she got in trouble. I know I've told that story a few times, but that's one that kind of cracks me up. I mean, no hard feelings on her. Like I said, I don't blame her. We all need affection. She was a nice woman. You know, and you got to go for that stuff. You never know. I wasn't expecting it. I'm a little too I don't know. I wasn't expecting it, but no hard feelings about it or anything like that. But yeah, that's the closest I've ever come to going home with someone from the bar. Otherwise, I remember once I went to a bar and I had a friend, and this friend of mine has been very good with ladies, and it's because he's so chill. He's so relaxed. Like, girls can just approach him. He's very approachable. He's really nice, you know, really quiet, very calm. And also he was always in really good shape. You know, he hit the gym, kind of a tall guy, you know, worked out. Dude's just a good guy. I mean, he's married now, actually, but he's always been a good guy. I mean, really good guy. And I remember that one time we were at a bar, and I've got one friend who's never been able to date because he's always been trying a little too hard. This is the thing that kills him. But I had one friend who was never able to date for years and years. I don't know if he ever went on a real date. And so we were all at the bar together, and this girl came up to us. This might have been at Halloween because I vaguely remember her being in some kind of, like, you know, sexy cheerleader outfit or something like that. Might have been Halloween. Maybe not. But we were all at the bar, and this woman came up to us, and she sits down, she starts chatting to us, and she's like, you know, like, we're talking to her and we're making jokes, but she seems really kind of like half interested in all of us, except for our tall, like, physically fit friend who's like really chill and really relaxed. And so she's like, hey man, I'm gonna go outside and smoke. Do you want to keep me company? And he's really chill, he's really nice, and he's like, yeah, okay. And so he goes outside for a little while, and like 5 or 10 minutes he comes back, and we're like, where's the girl? What happened? Like, did she not want to hang out with us anymore? And he goes, no, she invited me to go home and sleep with her. and so my other friend, who was like never able to date, he was like freaking out. He was like, why didn't you go? And he was like, well, because I wasn't really comfortable with that. I don't even know her. And he's like, why didn't you go? Why didn't you go? You should have gone. What were you thinking, man? And the rest of us were all kind of like, oh, no wonder she didn't really want to have a conversation with us, man. Thought she wanted to be friends. Because she wasn't really interested. She wasn't coming on to any of the rest of us. We were just like trying to have a conversation with the new person. So yeah. I mean, sometimes you meet some interesting people that way. Like you get to drink at a bar, you make friends. Yes. But like I say, bars have never worked for me. I know they work for some people, but they never worked for anyone else. I always wind up dating friends, pretty much, personally. I mean, like my very first girlfriend was way back in middle school, and or maybe early high school. I knew her in middle school, and this was like I rode on the bus with this girl, talked to her every day, and then we started dating for a little bit. But the early teen years, like I'm conflicted when I think about like if I raise a kid and they get to be a teenager. I don't know if I want to promote dating or if I want to, like, I don't know, sort of discourage it or anything like that, because I feel like your younger years are a good time to make a lot of bad decisions, because there's really no better way to learn about romance and dating than to just sort of do it and make your mistakes and learn what not to do. But it's also a very delicate kind of thing, and you can make some really terrible mistakes. So I don't know, I never made really terrible mistakes, but I was certainly presented with a number of options to make terrible mistakes. My very first girlfriend had a friend who I believe was maybe a bit confused about her sexuality at the time. And so I remember she was always trying to encourage us to do like threesome stuff with her. Like I say, we were very young, early teens. And she was like, you know, like, I'll make out with your girlfriend, you know, stuff like that. She'd be like, we should play strip poker together. And she was always trying to encourage that sort of thing. But I was kind of more of a take it slow kind of guy. I mean, like, I don't think I mean, like, I've dated women and had it not pan out very well. But, like, the shortest relationship I've ever had that wasn't gonna, like, the shortest relationship I ever had that wasn't sort of like we dated a little bit and just didn't spark was like 2 months, and that was like dating on the rebound. The next shortest relationship I ever had was like 4 months. And then, like, my previous relationship was 4 years, and I believe I've been with Kenza for about 3 years. And so I've just been that guy. Like, I'm kind of a more dedicated individual. So when my girlfriend's friend was trying to get us motivated into, like, let's all play strip poker together. I'll make out with your girlfriend and you can watch, and then, who knows, we'll go from there. Like, that sort of thing. I sometimes reflect back on that and wonder whatever happened to that girl, because I lost contact with her after, I don't know, like, after early high school. I never really hit it off with her very well, and kind of wonder what happened in her life. She ever got things sorted out. But she wasn't the only person I knew who got kind of confused or did a lot of things when she was young in that vein. I mean, like, I had a friend once, and I remember he used to show up to our role-playing sessions, but he tapered off. And I remember we used to carpool to our role-playing sessions every single weekend. And so one day he was carpooling. It was just me and him driving around in the car. And I was like, "Hey man, I noticed you're kind of missing out a lot of sessions. Are you finding other stuff to do? Do you not want to hang out with us anymore?" And I wasn't really upset about it. I mean, you find other things to do. People wind up busy. Like, we had a friend who worked all the time and he couldn't make it to a lot of sessions. It was cool. It's just like, are you finding other stuff to do? And he goes, "Yeah, sort of. I've started sleeping with this couple." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, yeah, it's been having, like, male, female, three-way trysts with these people, and they're usually free on the weekends." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I didn't know that." And he goes, "Yeah, if you ever want to join me, like, I wouldn't mind." I mean, like, he was like, "Do you want to just maybe, like, go there now? Like, I think I could get a hold of him, like, maybe you and me and this other guy." And I was like, "Nah, man, nah, I'd rather go to role playing if it's all the same to you." And he was like, "Oh, okay, well, anytime you want to go. I mean, we'll go to role playing, but I kind of, that's what I've been doing on the weekends." And I was like, "That's cool. Great. I think I'm gonna go role play." So I had other friends that got into that. I don't know. That was actually a friend. I'd known that guy for many, many years. And it actually didn't surprise me that he was doing that. I remember once when I was hanging out with him, and he was like, "You know what, Greg? You know what I really wish? I wish I could meet a woman who is like you, but a woman." And then I was like, "Oh, that's really sweet of you to say." I guess. Thanks for the compliment. I'm glad that you think I'd make a great romantic partner. It was just kind of stuff like that. Like, it was like little hints that he would kind of maybe like to try doing stuff with guys. I don't know. Again, I don't know, like, after he got to be a teenager, because he never seemed terribly serious about dating guys, but it just was like that came up from time to time. I don't know. People go through, like, stages of their life where they're kind of confused, and I think they stabilize out a bit. I've got another story about this same sort of thing. This is a it makes me wonder exactly how common this is. If this is just me, or if there are a lot of people who find that this happens. But I have another story about a friend who was trying to date a girl. This was a lady. She was a lesbian, and she was trying to date a girlfriend. And what was happening is that this girlfriend came from a very religious family, and so she was kind of ashamed of the fact that she was sleeping with other girls. She really didn't want to, like, get involved in things like that. And I remember my friend was, like, complaining, and she was like, "Oh, like, she keeps, like, she'll sleep with me, and she's, like, had previous girlfriends, like, she slept with, like, 5 girls now. And you know what she keeps saying? She's saying that she's experimenting." And I joked, and I said, "Well, like, she's just a good researcher, because to experiment, you need to have a statistically significant amount of data." And so my friend laughed, and she goes, yeah, she needs to sleep with the entire female population before she has a good section of data. And I was like, that would be good research. She could publish a paper, get in a periodical that way. Confirmed, I am a lesbian. I slept with the entire female population. 3 billion people. Slept with all of them. Yep. So anyway, that's life. That's kind of how it goes. And I've got one more. I've got one more weird story of that. Like I say, you think that it ends there. No, it just keeps going. I've got one friend who's actually married, and his wife has a boyfriend, apparently, and I guess that they live together. This is another one that's kind of interesting, where this was funny because the husband was actually struggling a lot with his wife. His wife was kind of in charge, from what I'm told, and the husband had a really hard time standing up to her. He didn't always like her decisions, but she was way more adamant about her decisions than he was about his, and so she was in charge constantly, and he really didn't like it. But then she started seeing another man, and this was her idea. She wanted to see other people. She wanted an open relationship. And so the husband, being that he was less aggressive, maybe a little less testosterone, I don't know what it is. He didn't really go out to find other women, but she found another man. And so she started bringing home this guy. And the funny thing was, though, is that this guy was a lot more aggressive. And so from that point forward, he started living with them, he moved in with them. And I don't know how the husband felt about this at first, but over time, once the new boyfriend got acclimated to the situation, it got to where now that whenever the wife wanted to do something and it was kind of dumb and she got aggressive about it, the boyfriend would then shout her down. I mean, not shouting, but he would just be like, that's a terrible idea. I don't want to do that. He would openly disagree with her. And the husband could then chime in with the boyfriend and be like, yeah, that's right. I don't want to do that. I don't feel like doing that at all. And I'm told that it actually improved his relationship because suddenly he had agency. As long as the boyfriend was on his side, and he frequently was, the husband now had control. And so his life improved. His life became much better. So, love, dating, romance, it's a strange world. Yes. But in the general sense, like I say, finding people is probably one of the more interesting things because there's so many ways to screw it up. And if you date someone for a long time like I do, like I said, my previous relationship lasted for about 4 years, and when that ended, I was lost. I really had no idea what to do. I recall kind of trying to meet women, and the trouble was that I was trying, and so I would talk to girls and they could tell that I was trying to talk to them, I was trying to talk to them. It wasn't the casual thing that I would do where I just go out and meet people, and just chat. It was I'm trying to pick you up in a way. And it never worked. And it never worked. It went over so poorly every time I tried to do it that I would feel embarrassed after I do it. I just feel horrible. I'd just be like, God, why did I do that? And what I had to do was I had to just take a break and give myself about a year to recoup just get over the breakup and adjust emotionally, and then start making friends with women and talking to them normally and having normal relationships again. Rebounding is I've never had it be healthy. I've done it once before with another girl who also rebounded. I think that's the only way that I've ever had any success on a rebound, is finding someone else on the rebound and you're both awkward. Because this is one thing that happened is I tried online dating and I found another woman on the rebound and she was willing to go for it, but then it turned out we kind of had nothing in common and it sort of didn't work out so well. So yeah, I've always found the best thing to do is just friends, and I've tried the thing where you kind of have friends with benefits in a way, and I don't know that I really advise that. That sort of thing is you're close and you trust each other and you like each other, but you really don't, you fight a little too often and you know it, and if you live together you'd fight even more. That sort of thing. I've done that with at least 1 or 2 friends in the past, and it always complicates the relationship. I mean, you wind up closer to the person, but also you the two of you don't really know what you want or where you're going with this, and then if you sort of I don't know, drift away to start dating other people, there's a little bit of animosity, and it's not real strong, but it just creates it's just sort of a mess. It's not a real brilliant plan, in my opinion and experience. Yeah. Anyway, not a very structured personal time. Just like I said, I was musing about this in the morning and was thinking about things. Oh yeah, another thing I wanted to talk about was the idea that they say that you tend to date the same person over and over again, and to some extent this is true, but I think it depends on the person. I once tried to date a girl who kind of always had a thing for guys that gave her trouble. And this was sort of weird. I remember I was in high school. I'd known this girl since high school. And I was trying to date her a lot through high school, and it never really panned out. She was always kind of with guys that would give her more trouble than they were worth. And so finally, sometime after college, after I'd gotten out of this 4-year relationship, when I started dating again, I was chatting with this girl because I kept in touch with her for all this time. And we really hadn't you know, like I hadn't been flirty, I hadn't been trying to date her, and so it was much easier. Like, this is the thing, as soon as you quit trying, like I was just like, so, you know, so and so, like, do you want to like go out for ice cream or something like that? Like, we're both single these days. Do you feel like maybe we could try dating? And we did, and sure enough, like there wasn't really a spark or anything like that. It didn't take off very well. We got as far as like making out, and there wasn't a lot of chemistry. It was kind of like, okay, let's, you know, it's fine. We'll just move on. Because she had some other guys that she was dating as well at the time. It was very casual. It was very just sort of like feeling each other out. Is this going to work? And it didn't really work. But she dated the same guys very commonly. Like, I'm a very sort of, I don't know, stable guy. Like, I'm pretty dependable. You can sort of, low maintenance. You can sort of put me on a shelf for a little while and I won't get too upset. I mean, you can't like abandon me for too long. But I'm pretty low maintenance. But you would wind up with these guys that were just very high maintenance, you know, lots of trouble, lots of insecurities, stuff like that. And the guy that was really giving her a lot of thrills, and, you know, this is what she confessed to me afterwards. She goes, yeah, the guy that I was really into is kind of like, he's on the verge of being fired from Walmart, and he's like really kind of hyper aggressive, but he's also very sensitive, and so she just liked the sensitive guy. She wanted the fixer-upper. And you know, it was kind of like I don't know, like I say, the chemistry wasn't there, so you kind of just let it go. But I will never understand her taste in men. But she would do that a lot. She just, for as long as I've known her, for as long as I kept in touch with her, she was doing that frequently, where she was just dating the same kind of guys. For myself, I don't feel like I've done that. I mean, I've dated a variety of different personalities, but you see some commonalities from time to time. But I don't know, they're more recent. I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't know how true it is, but it probably varies from person to person quite a bit. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, kind of a rambly personal time. I'm not sure if I can think of anything else that I was really thinking about, but it was just something that I was thinking about. Like I say, interesting subject, weird twists and turns, non-conventional things. You know, this is why I think that sex education would be better served by kind of a more, like, sort of a broad, like, these are the chemicals involved, these are the brain patterns, you know, things like that. Stuff like sex is more about the parasympathetic system rather than, you know, so on and so forth. Things that you can sort of use in a broad sense, because as it is, teaching people specifically how to approach each other is so very hard, because everybody is different, and everybody's kind of looking for a different thing. Different approaches work for different people, and I don't know, that's life for you. But romance and love, that is the thing for today. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I'll catch you all next time.